plenty of fighters in the UFC with 10,000 followers, some of them even less. And I don't think that they understand that they're missing out on so much. And the analogy that I love to make is a diamond in the dirt is worth literally nothing because no one can see it. But when it's cleaned up and it's shiny and it's ready to go out on the shelf, people pay thousands and thousands of dollars for them.
This is Guardy with Clear Life Media, Clear Life Combat. I have a guest that's zooming in. I'm going to let him introduce himself. We're going to find out everything that he has going on. Hey, how's it going?
What's up, Guardy? My name is Ronan. Thanks for having me on the show. My name is Ronan, and I do social media with Bo Nickel. And then I also just started my new company called Combat Creators, helping combat sports athletes, coaches, and anyone in the combat sports niche grow their personal brand through social media.
Yeah, I saw some of the content that you were putting out, specifically some of the shout outs that you had got, and then you given some tips and some help just for free, right? I guess tell me a little bit about how'd you get here?
So I started when I was a sophomore in college, like during COVID, I started a podcast, and that was kind of my intro into what it really took to make content. And it sucked. Like it was not good. Like I think everyone kind of starts in that space of I don't even know how to start, but I need to start. So I'm just going to try and do as many things as possible. And if it works, great. If not, it's a learning lesson. And that's kind of what I did for the first year and tried to learn how to actually make content. And my podcast was a really good start for that. And then I got kind of bored of that. Started making football hype videos for some of my buddies. And then I eventually was like getting paid for it. And I was like, wow, I can make money from this. So I started like my own production company. And then from there, one of my podcast guests, his name was John Broughton, called me up and said, like, hey, I'm looking for someone to work with me on a couple projects. I'm like, that sounds great. And so I took a job with him, kind of interning slash being his assistant. And then what I did from there, Guardy, is started working with a company called Scrap Life, which I still work with today. And I basically just made hype videos for them with a bunch of their different athletes and stuff. And one of their athletes was Bo Nickel. And after about 8 months of working with John and doing stuff for Scrap Life, Bo had a meeting with me and he said, hey, like, I want to start working on my personal brand. Is that something you'd be interested in? And I was like, yeah, we can take a meeting. And then from there, it's been great ever since. I've been working with Bo and then also with some of the companies that he works with, like Scrap Life. I still work with them pretty closely. And then also his recovery lotion company called 2717, I work with a lot as well.
Why would you say that someone like Bo Nickel building their personal brand, why is that important? Or why did even Bo feel like I need to do this?
Man, Bo has always been like one step ahead. I think that is super important, not just for athletes in general, but specifically combat sports athletes to really market themselves, not just worry about the promotion marketing them, right? Because in every other sport, typically the actual contract to play said sport is worth way more than a sponsorship deal. And in combat sports, that's pretty much the opposite. So growing your big personal brand and growing on social media, really marketing yourselves gives you leverage for, let's say, sponsorships or to get into bigger promotions like the UFC. So it's really important. And Bo recognized that, oh, if I want to build my own brand, build other brands, get into the UFC, like having my personal brand will only help with that.
Yeah, and what has he seen since, his numbers have skyrocketed, and his content is good and solid? Has he seen that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I hate taking like all the credit for it because in reality, like if he doesn't have that 38-second knockout, if he doesn't do his thing in the octagon, you know, none like it doesn't really matter what I do, right? Because if he performs at a high level, it's going to come just by doing that. My job, and I've always felt like this, is to emphasize what he does well. So if he has a crazy highlight, if he does something crazy in practice, my job is to take that and emphasize it. And me and Bo have tried to really work together and collaborate on getting his name out there through him doing his thing and then me emphasizing it on across the platforms on social.
So when it comes to creating that content, I mean, do you work with Bo or does Bo have ideas? Sometimes you do. Y'all come together and collab and see, hey, what are we going to create? Are you pretty strategic about it?
Yeah, so originally I think the main strategy was just get as much stuff as we possibly could up. And now it's a more aim and fire strategy because we understand kind of what works and what will build his brand. So we want to take that, do 70% of that stuff, and then with the other 30%, like let's experiment and see if we can try something else and see if that works. Right. We always want to try and be experimenting. We always want to be trying improving on what we already know works. But as far as us working together, like everything's very collaborative. He looks through pretty much every single piece of content that we end up posting, and he kind of gives like the final check mark of approval on that.
Right. I think this is kind of similar to how streamers have their personal brands. They get these brand deals, and then they end up kind of going reverse and fighting. Sometimes on some of
Right.
these things. But I can see the parallels of why it's important. Someone will pay to watch you, then brands will want to work with you, and it's a way to make money.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that it's so interesting how some fighters don't even like think about doing this. Like they don't even think about posting on social media. Like there's plenty of people out there, plenty of fighters in the UFC with 10,000 followers. Some of them
Right.
even less. And I don't think that they understand that they're missing out on so much. And the analogy that I love to make is a diamond in the dirt is worth literally nothing because no one can see it. But when it's cleaned up and it's shiny and it's ready to go out on the shelf, people pay thousands and thousands of dollars for them. So if these fighters aren't being seen, they're missing out on so much, not only awareness but compensation as well.
Yeah, my guy Josh Altum, he's from here in Texas City. Actually, he's fighting for Melee Fighting Championship August 30th, and
Mm-hmm.
Melee has an interesting approach where they work with the streamer and they put the fight for free on Twitch, and they're target there might be like 2 million people that end up watching these fights on Twitch, and I was like, I've never heard of that before, but there's I don't know, it works for them, and there's brand deals and all these things. I'm trying to understand Twitch myself, and so, but I
Right.
just think it's like a little bit outside of the box. How can I get get more eyes on me? And one thing he was specifically working on was like, man, I need to be more strategic on my content. I need to get out there more, look for opportunities to build my brand. And I think him seeing Melee work with Twitch kind of opened up that avenue for him. The fighting he has down, solid, and then he's like, man, I need to work on this part of my game or my brand to maybe be marketable the next level.
Right. And I think that a lot of the promotions are getting, like you said, with Melee fighting promotions, they're starting to do everything through Twitch. And that's great. I think a big eye opener for a lot of people was a CJI with Craig Jones making it free and live on YouTube. Like that was never thought of before. I'm sure there was a couple smaller promotions doing it, but for a big event like that to be free and on YouTube, like ADCC has always been behind a paywall with Flow, and I know a lot of people have it, and it's $30 a month, but YouTube's completely free. Any single person could watch it as long as they download the app, right? And I think that was a huge turning point for a lot of these promotions and saying and seeing like, oh, we can get a lot more eyes on the sport, and it might not pay dividends right now, but it'll pay in 10 years when people are starting to actually do the sport and then become fans. And I think that it's great with the UFC's doing now with UFC BJJ and having that free on YouTube and helping it grow that way. So I think that there's going to be a lot more promotions that move over to
Mm-hmm.
the free and paid streaming route, or sorry, the free stream route? Yes. Will I think it will take a while? Yes. So I don't know if like I know the UFC has a big negotiation right now with their next partner in terms of
Mm-hmm.
streaming. So do I think it could be on Netflix? Yeah. Do I think it would grow the sport? Yeah. Do I think the UFC is going to want a lot of money? Yeah.
Right. So where's a good place for someone To start, looking from the outside, I think step one is just realizing that I need to build my brand. I need to create content. Is that the most important step of the process? It's like even training for a fight. Hey, getting on the mat's the most important step. Where does someone start?
Yeah, honestly, I think that the best place to start is literally taking your phone, making like a selfie video and just explaining who you are and what you do. Like if you're a fighter, explain like what you're doing, where you're from, and just kind of like go from there. And I think starting with jujitsu is such a great example because when you sign up for jujitsu, you sign up to get your butt kicked for a year. Like that's just how it goes. Same thing with making content. Like, are there some people that post 3 videos and go super viral? Yeah. Is that going to be everyone? Absolutely not. So I think the best place to start is simply just taking your phone, having one of your buddies film like your practice or just putting it up against a water bottle and then just looking at what other people are doing in on social media and trying to replicate what they've done and see what works and transfer it over to your own personal brand. And I think that that's like the simplest. I don't like to try and make it super complicated because the biggest thing is to just get that first post up there because that's the most nerve wracking part. It's like showing
Right.
up and going to the gym the first time, like, is the worst time you're going to have at the gym. But after, it's like you start getting better and then you start having fun. It's just getting past that point of, oh man, this is really scary. And then just kind of going for it from there.
Yeah. I guess that is the most important part, I would say. And I referenced this the other day when I was talking to Josh Altum about how we have a bunch of young creatives that we work with, and sometimes you look at their social media platforms. There's like one post, 2 posts, maybe they'll post the stories, and they see it as cringe. I think if you post too much, or it's embarrassing or something like that. And so I think overcoming that mentality, as well.
Yeah. I think that being cringe is just kind of is part of it. Like it's cringe to start anything new,
Yeah.
especially to your friends. Like the first time that I told my buddies that I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna start doing jujitsu. You know what they told me? You're gonna roll around with dudes for fun. Like that's cringy.
Yeah.
So it's just you're going to have the cringe in literally anything that you do, and social media is just super public. So everyone's going to see that you're making like some goofy video on the internet and you're just going to have to deal with it. Like that's part of it. You're going to get made fun of. But when it works, then they're like, oh, well, it was cringe for a little bit, but now like, oh, Mr. Beast has billions of dollars and is super popular. Or, Patty Pimblett is a great example of a fighter truly taking advantage of social media. Like his videos to start were probably super cringy and not good. Tim Welsh, another great example. He's been vlogging for like 6 years and no one knew. And his vlogs, just being honest, they sucked at the beginning, but everyone sucks at the beginning and it's going to be cringe when you start, but it has paid dividends for them now. And now everyone's seeing it like, oh, these videos are great, but no one really understands what it took to get there. It's like everyone loves the idea of running a marathon, but no one wants to do it,
Yeah. Putting the
and
work
that's
in.
like the thousands of videos in between that people don't see.
What's your background with combat sports? I know you mentioned jujitsu.
Literally zero. I was a cheerleader in college before it's really funny. So the first time I ever met Bo, um, I was a basketball player in high school, and when I was a freshman in college, one of the cheer coaches like came up to me and my buddy at the gym and we're like, "You guys want to do this?" And we're like, "Sure, sounds good." Like we get free textbooks and some cool gear and get to be on the football field. And I did it for like a year. And at Penn State, where I went to college, they have this thing called Thon, and it's basically a 46-hour dance marathon to help uh, kids with cancer. And we did like a little performance, like rah rah, yelling a bunch. And then right after we got off stage, Bo was coming on to do like a little pep talk for like the dancers that are just standing. There's so basically 46 hours, no sitting. You have to stand the entire time, no sleep, and it's a fundraiser for childhood cancer. And Bo is about to go do a pep talk with the dancers, and we're walking off stage. We're giving them fist bumps and everything. My buddy turns around to me and goes, "Do you know who that was?" I go, no. And he's like, that was Bo Nickel. He's like a three-time national champion. And I said, in what? And then he goes, wrestling. I'm like, dude, I'm going to be honest with you right now. I didn't even know we had a wrestling team until you just told me that. So I had like, it was a huge learning curve for me, especially like working with someone like my first client was pretty much Bo,
Yeah.
so it was a big learning curve for me to really learn the space because I wanted to be educated on it before actually trying to like try a bunch of things because it's the cultures are way different between, especially the cultures are way different between like uh I call it like the power five sports like hockey, football, all of them, and then UFC and fighting and wrestling. It's night and day. So I wanted to make sure I understood that. So as far as like a background in martial arts and anything, I did karate as a kid.
Yeah.
So this was a whole new world. So I ended up wanting to do jujitsu just so I could understand like a little bit about what martial arts is, and going from there. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, training jujitsu helps you film jujitsu, but a lot of the content that a combat sports athlete puts out maybe shouldn't even be jujitsu. If that's what they do, it's like the behind the scenes or the day in the life. How can I connect with the average person to make them care to watch my fight? Would you agree with that? And maybe what percentage of their content should be like, hey, this is me as a person, or this is my training footage, this is my fight footage? Is there a breakdown that you think?
Yeah, I think that there's three main forms of content. I think that there's entertainment content, which, is like a funny dog video on the internet or just a funny like Stitch video that some fighter would post. Documentation, and that's kind of what you were talking about in terms of you know, showing the behind the scenes, documenting how you are getting to where you want to go. And then finally is education, showing people how to do certain moves, showing people what to eat, just some examples of educational videos. And I think that there's no like specific right or wrong balance between the three, but I do think it is important that every person on social media uses those three at some point, um, because it helps them create a balanced personal brand, right? And especially for fighters and celebrities, most people want you, like you were saying, want to see the curtain peeled back and get an inside look on their life. So I think that there is some sort of a like percentage that you should be doing, but everyone's different. Like every single person has their unique story. Every single person's going to have their unique style and brand. So I don't want to put like you need to do exactly this and exactly that because that's not how it is. But I do think, especially for people in the UFC, or just people with any kind of, I don't want to say status because that's not the word that I'm looking for, but any kind of interesting thing about them, right? Like a cameraman that films a UFC fighter. There's got to be something interesting there. I think that they have something to post about, and I think that they should just share their story in general. And a big place where I like to say for people to start is just document your day. Just film everything that you do in a day and see what you can take from that because that could literally be your first piece of content and you don't have to do anything other than putting your phone up on a water bottle every 10 minutes or so and just getting a clip of yourself. So, yeah.
Wow. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, I know you started your own company. I guess what exactly does the company do?
Yeah. So, combat creators is what I found was there's a lot of combat sports athletes that are super talented at what they do, but they just don't know how to promote themselves. And back to the diamond in the dirt analogy, right? Like there's a lot of fighters that are super talented, but they don't know how to get their name out there. And I saw that and I was like, man, I feel like I can help these people like get their name out there a little bit. So I started this community on school called Combat Creators and basically teaching combat sports athletes or coaches or gym owners on how to use content and growing their personal brand as a vehicle in order to really get their name out there because they said a diamond in the dirt is worth nothing, but a diamond that's all nice and shiny and everyone can see it is worth a lot of money. So I think that I just really genuinely I hate the term like content guru and like educate like the whole education online space is so corrupt and I have a bunch of opinions on it, but I really wanted to be like honest and put out a course that is beneficial. Like I genuinely do want to help these people because I feel like God gave me a talent of knowing and understanding social media. So I want to like kind of pay it forward and help other people out there, and other combat sports athletes, coaches, and everyone in that niche in general, just be able to, show who they are to the world.
Yeah. So if someone does want to work with you, would they be able to, I mean, get guidelines, or even it's like, hey, I have this content. Can you help connect me with an editor, or can you edit this? I guess, are there different services offered?
Yeah. So right now, I really only try and as far as like done for you style stuff, like what I do with Bo, I only really do that with a couple other companies, because one, I'm a one man band. I have a couple other editors out there, but most of the time it's like it's just me.
Mm-hmm.
So and a real big thing for me is I want to make sure that the quality is good. And the quality is, I know some people say like the quality is not up to you, it's up to the fans, but and I get that, but there's also a certain standard, especially you being in the media space, right? Like there's a certain standard that you want to set for yourself. And if
Mm-hmm.
it's not up to your standard, it's like, oh, well, I don't even want to put that out there. Right. So right now, I don't really offer anything as far as that, but I work for a couple companies. Combat Creators is a very low ticket product for just any combat sports athlete that really wants to get better. I have a course designed to take them from a white to black belt in content. And then also like for the first 50 members that want to do like a monthly subscription to the course, we do live office hours. So I basically coach them through and on if they want their script reviewed or they want their videos reviewed. I just want to help. Like that's the whole ethos of it is I just want to help these athletes and coaches just really get their name out there. So whatever that they need, I want to be able to provide in this like little low ticket course product that I have.
You mentioned, working on scripts, and when my mind started going, because sometimes we'll work with, clients in combat sports, and then people, we do other stuff too outside of combat sports. But whenever you stick a camera in someone's face and it's their first time, sometimes you got to get them, eased up and natural. But Bo Nickel, was he a natural on camera from the beginning, or is that something he had to work into?
I think that there was definitely a time and place where he felt, I don't know if the word uncomfortable is the word, but whenever you start when anyone starts anything new, right, it's going to be a little bit weird. Obviously Bo did a lot of interviews in college and with college wrestling, and he was good at that, but doing content's a little bit different, right? Being in front of a camera and, being silly or just having to explain something to someone over like over the internet is a little bit different. But I definitely think that I don't know if Bo was ever like bad at talking to a camera, but he definitely had a lot of improvement as time went on. Like he's a natural now. When we first started, I don't know if that was necessarily the case, but he was still good. But my job was to really make him better and make sure that anything that he wanted to really get out there, he was able to do.
Mm. So what's next for you? I guess even with your new company and getting that launched, like what's next? And what's the end goal?
Yeah, I mean, end goal is I just want to help as many combat sports athletes as possible. Like, obviously, I still love working for Bo, and that's kind of like my main gig. But right now, I want to also be able to do that and really help. Just like I said, and I know I sound like a broken record saying it, but I genuinely like do want to help people, and I just wasn't able to figure out how for a long time. I also wanted to make sure that I am who I say I am. Like, if I wasn't able to grow Bo's brand, I don't think that I could make a course like this. And I don't think anyone, if they don't have evidence to back it up, be like a white belt trying to teach a jujitsu class, like that can't be the case. So I want to make sure that I had everything, um, the credibility factor of growing Bo's brand and having the confidence to really tell people like, hey, this is what works. Like this is what you should be doing. And then kind of going for there. But as far as like end goal, I mean, I want to get Bo's Instagram to 1 million followers. That would be great. But aside from like all the numbers and everything, it's just one being able to just help as much as I can in terms of the combat sports world and get these athletes not just in the bigger promotions, but being able to like get their name out there and achieve their dreams as well.
Yeah, and you've done it with Bo and in this space, but I mean these principles could work if somebody else is trying to build a brand as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's obviously like some nuances between different brands and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that growing growing 2717 was a lot different than growing Bo's personal brand on social media, because a lot of that was ad generated. Bo's was all organic content. So I think that there's definitely some nuances that go in between, but I think that there's the main concept that I tell people, and this goes for literally anyone trying to start content, not just combat sports athletes, is if your video idea is good, it will get shown. If it's not going to get shown to anyone. Like if you make good content, the algorithm will push it. It will have to. If your video is so good, people will like it, engage with it, and then the algorithm has no choice but to push it. But if your video sucks, it's not going to get pushed by the algorithm. So that's kind of like the main rule that I have for people starting off. But that rule applies to every single niche. So I think that yeah, there's a lot of terminology that I use in my course and everything that can apply to other niches. But I did try and make sure that I stuck to the combat sports niche and kind of just focus on that rather than the whole wide spectrum. But yeah, I'm sure that like you also have that as well. Like some in the different industries that you've worked in, there's nuances that come up that you're like, this really wouldn't work for a soccer player, but it would work for someone that's fighting or boxing.
Yeah, and I even think that the platform, hey, this piece of content may work great for this platform, but it may
Dude.
not work great for this one, and you can post the exact same video and one is going to do good numbers and one maybe not, or vice versa, or maybe they both, but it's that's
Yeah.
important as well.
Yeah, I think that something big that's going to happen in the next, it's already happening. Like I know it's some bigger influencers and bigger business owners and bigger athletes. They are doing this and they're having individual editors for every platform. Like I know that Hormozy's team talked about it. It's like we made this video for Instagram, and or we were making just we had short form editors, right? And they would make short form content. So if they made a video, it would go across all the platforms, all the short form platforms, and nothing would be changed. But every algorithm is different. So they had to essentially make the change of we're going to have editors for all of these different platforms, and they're going to make videos specific to TikTok or specific to Facebook, because the algorithms are all different. And it's
Yeah.
like it's if you try and this is another piece of advice, if you're just trying to like hack the algorithm, good luck. It's never going to happen. Like it just my main rule is just like I said, make good videos, make something that people want to see, and like they'll have no choice but to push it then. But yeah, it's crazy to see how much the online media space has changed over the past even like year. Like it's just it's insane. And I think that there's going to be a lot more. I think there will be a lot more fighters and a lot more people in the combat sports space, especially with jujitsu. There's going to be a lot of new jujitsu athletes that really come up and make big names for themselves.
Yeah, I think it's just the what the UFC is doing with UFC BJJ and getting to the space. Like, man, it's just going to make the sport more popular. More people are going to train,
Right.
more athletes. I mean, the growth is kind of just starting now. It's crazy.
Yeah. What do you think is going to be like the biggest problem with trying to get these jujitsu athletes? Or and Bo just joined something called Real American Freestyle, which is cool. So it's going to be like wrestling. Sorry, international styled or freestyle wrestling on like a actual platform rather than the Olympics or the World Championships. So how do you like
Yeah.
what do you think is really going to happen with people like that? Like, how do you think they're going to be able to stand out in this crowd going forward?
Right. I actually just talked to someone about Bo joining that league. It was a guy that was fighting for Fury in New Orleans, Fury 106, and he was a college wrestler. And we were talking about stuff, and he was mentioning how the UFC getting into jiu-jitsu. He's like, man, I'm excited because maybe wrestling is next. And then I was like, well, I just heard Bo Nichols join in that, that league. Obviously, with we talked about CJI earlier. The contracts, the exclusive contracts,
Mm-hmm.
you can only compete over here, you can only compete over there, or
Yeah,
like one
man.
championship will let you go everywhere if it's good for the sport. Man, I think it's good for these athletes to have choices and opportunities, and these are new opportunities and problems that weren't there a year ago or a year and a half ago, however long. Now they are new
Right.
problems and they're money problems, but it gives the athlete a choice, and I guess it's good problems and growing pains to have.
Yeah, I mean, I think that jujitsu just needs like I don't know if it'll ever be like a fan friendly sport because I don't know how. When I tried to watch jujitsu, even when I tried to watch wrestling, and I don't understand the points of the rules or anything,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think jujitsu is going to have the growing pains with that, as well as like freestyle
Right.
wrestling. Man, freestyle wrestling rules. I've watched probably 20 matches at this point. I still don't understand how it works. Folk
Yeah.
style, I kind of understand, but yeah, I definitely think that the exclusive contracts as well is going to be a very. I think that they're going to abolish that eventually. I think they're going to have to because like these UFC fighters or the UFC BJJ athletes like Tackett. What if he wants to compete in ADCC next year? Like, is he going to be able to do that, or they're just not going to let him
Right.
unless it's like worth. I don't know how much they're getting paid either. Like, I
Right.
don't know how much they could be possibly getting for jujitsu matches.
I don't know. And they can compete every weekend, multiple times. I mean, we talk to people all the time. It's like I'm promoting a super fight or I'm on Submission Hunter. It's on UFC Fight Pass this weekend. I'm fighting on another, a bracket this weekend. I think what the UFC BJJ could do is limit, hey, you can compete in these major tournaments up to like 3 a year, because they don't want to have them just go competing at any other thing where they're gonna, you know, risk the brand that the UFC's helped
Yeah,
building as well. So just give
yeah.
them
It's
some
like
flexibility.
you get heel hooked, and there you go. Like your contract, like your UFC contract that could be a year is over. But it's the same thing why they don't let UFC fighters box, but they'll let them do jujitsu matches, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
jujitsu is generally like safer. I'm putting that
Right.
in air quotes there, but same thing with wrestling. Like I think that's why the UFC and Bo came to agreement of like, hey, like as long as you don't get hit in the head,
Yeah.
like because that's at the end of the day, like everyone can only take so many hits to the head until it's like, all right, well, you probably shouldn't be doing this
Yeah.
anymore. So I think that having these big athletes in the UFC kind of go over to these other promotions and being able to to do jujitsu or do wrestling is only going to be beneficial to not just like the UFC, but to these athletes as well because they'll be able to get their name out there more in these other niches.
Yeah. Well, you talked about jujitsu potentially struggling to be a fan friendly spectator sport, but
Yeah,
that's why that personal brand is so important that you're emphasizing, like, how do I get somebody's grandmother, to care about,
yeah,
my match? It's like, well, man, here's Bo Nickel. He's cooking this steak. He's kind of funny. He's charismatic. Here's him and his family. Here's this other things. And it's like, oh, I like him. He's good. Oh,
yeah.
he's competing next week. I think I'm going to tune in, and that's who I'm going to cheer for because I made a connection with them.
Right. I think that a big thing that we started to notice, and that's funny that you said the steak thing because there was a couple of people that would come up to Bo and be like, "Yo, Steak Sunday is like one of my favorite things to watch," and we all
Right.
thought we thought it was funny. This is like at a time where we're kind of like just throwing a bunch of darts at the wall and seeing what sticks, kind of thing. And we are like, I wonder if the Steak Sunday thing is a good idea. Like, will people like it? And it was funny because people didn't even realize that Bo was fighting. They just like the Steak Sunday thing because
Right.
it's a whole different niche that they might not care about fighting, but they care about Bo. And like you said, that will make them watch the fight. And I think with the UFC, BJJ, and just like jujitsu in general, and some of the wrestlers as well, I think being able to do something that's adjacent to their sport. Like if you're a wrestler, you can talk about like dieting, or you can talk about supplements, something in that same genre or same niche, but just adjacent to it would be super helpful in trying to grow their brand. Because, like you said, it's gonna there's gonna come a time where, like for most people, wrestling isn't super fan friendly, but if they like this certain influencer or they like this certain athlete on social media, they'll tune in. I mean, the perfect example of this is Craig Jones. Like, even though like I don't agree with what he posts and everything, like he's a little out there and crazy, but he is the example of growing a personal brand. Not like he's the second best grappler in the world, right? Like in any other sport in any other place, like being second best means nothing. But since he has like this very interesting personality, he was able to get his name out there, and obviously he's still good. and people want to buy his instructionals and stuff. But just having like that extra layer gives someone another reason to invest in either watching or buying his instructional or so on, or buying a product that he promotes. It's crazy how much like it's crazy how much one can influence someone else with just some videos on the internet.
Right. Yeah. And like B Team, I know that he posted some stuff. It's like, oh, it's going, going away or whatever. It seems like it's a marketing thing and they're going to rebrand, and that's, for whatever different reasons. But, like you said, the second best grappler, he's like, you know what? I keep losing to this guy, or I come in second place. You know what? I'm going to market this. B
Yeah.
Team in the name of the gym, second best grappler in the world. Come to B Team, silver medal, like, or whatever it is. And it was a joke, but people were wearing their rash guards will never go to Austin and never train at B Team, and Mexican ground karate, kind of making a joke out
Yeah.
of jiu-jitsu or different things, and definitely great marketing.
Yeah. I'm very like, what do you think what do you think about the jiu-jitsu scene in general? Like, how do you think, besides UFC BJJ and besides CJI, how does that sport get to, like I said, I don't know if it will ever be spectator friendly because I just don't know like the rule set. I think a big shift that was super helpful was the bowl and the pit,
Right.
because that makes like the action a lot, it just makes the action happen more. And there's no
Right.
excuse. Like if you go in ADCC, sometimes it'll be every 10 seconds that someone gets pushed out and then they have
Right.
to stop. So do you think that that's been like do you think that'll help grow the sport a little bit as well?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. Like I saw some of the competitors like, hey, you can't run off the mat now,
Yeah.
and I think, yeah, the pit, the bowl, forcing that action. It's interesting. Some of these gyms are having to try and build and train with that now, and that's not what they're used to. But I think so. I think growing the sport is going to depend on the the personal connection, like what you're pushing. I really do. I think it could be a spectator sport. You just have to get those people to care. Like, yeah, because it's not like Power Slap. I have kids, and Power Slap. I turned
Man.
it on in my house, and my kids are like, oh, like glued to the screen, like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? But I'll watch jiu-jitsu at the house, and they're not paying attention. They're not
Yeah.
paying
It's
attention.
so funny. Power slap is like, I knew it would work when it came out because it's like, this is just a topic, or this is I'm trying to think of the word, like a lesson in general. It's when you turn on Power Slap, you understand what is going to happen. Someone is going to get knocked out, but everyone wants to see how it happens. And just having that gap in curiosity makes people want to tune in.
Right.
And when you're scrolling on TikTok or scrolling on Instagram and you see a Power Slap video come up, you already know what is going to happen, but you want to find out how it happens.
Right.
And I think that that's a big reason why Power Slap has been able to grow so much. It's because it's like this gap in curiosity, and it's like, oh my gosh, this other human being is getting his lights turned off,
Yeah.
and like that.
But some of those competitors in Power Slap, I mean, I haven't seen the UFC push or Power Slap push like an actual personality. They should be, and maybe they are, and I just haven't seen it across my algorithms, pushing their own personal brand. The person I see the most is Paige Van Zant, who's pushed her personal brand and already built a platform with the UFC. So anytime that there's content, I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen the Paige Van Zant, but as far as like who's the face of Power Slap, like I don't know, but like these people could be
Yeah.
creating that to push their brand and capitalize on this opportunity.
Yeah, I just don't understand. Like Dana is big on it, and I just don't understand how or why these people do that.
Yeah.
I can't get. Do you know anyone in Power Slap? I met Paige at like an American Top Team down in Florida, but I'd love to ask someone why.
Yeah.
Just why are you doing that to
Yeah.
yourself?
One of my business partners here at Clear Life is like, dude, we should start a Power Slap league. I was like, I don't think so. So we had talked to some of our friends with the Texas Commission, and he was telling us, he's like, we actually just had these courses and classes and kind of things on it. I mean, people will watch. It's a crazy thing, but I don't understand it. I haven't met anybody specifically, an athlete or anybody in it, but
You
Yeah,
have to be insane. You have to be mentally insane to do that. Like you have to be. Even man, even fighting. I think about I'm every single there's about 18 times a month where I go to Bo's sparring and I'll be watching. I'm like, why do you do this? Like you gotta be a little insane to just be like, all right, I'm gonna walk in here and I know I'm gonna get punched in the face,
right.
but I love it. Like, it's kind of that thing. Like for power slap, I just don't understand. I hope that they have some kind of insurance policy. I don't know if they do, but I hope that they do because they're all gonna have CTE by the end of their careers. Like I don't know if you can do that power slap and not have some kind of internal brain damage
Yeah.
after just one.
Yeah, that's why it's important. Hey, market yourself, build your platform, get these brand deals,
Exactly.
couple of power slap, opportunities, and capital use that as a tool to get to the top, and then get out
Yeah.
if you.
These guys
Yeah.
those videos get millions and millions of views.
Right.
Like I would probably guess on average the the power slap TikTok pulls in more views a month in comparison to the UFC. I don't know
Hmm.
that for a fact, but I have a strong feeling that it's a lot closer than people think.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
I, because I mean, it's every single video is someone getting knocked out, which is in the UFC, it happens like a couple times every card, but they can't post about that every single day. Like,
Right.
but Power Slap can.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, like Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje. It's like, man, that
Oh
was
my
maybe the best
gosh.
knockout ever. But it's like power slap. You can watch that probably every event. Someone just pop, falling backwards, going to the side. Going to sleep.
So we were there for that knockout, and I have never felt. I've been in the UFC and watching for two of the best knockouts in my opinion ever. I've been to the Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje, which is it's the greatest knockout of all time. I don't know if there's anything that can top that. And the energy in that arena was just something that I like you could feel it like in your heart how much energy that just like got outputted from everyone just screaming and yelling. And the other one is Izzy knocking out Poatan in UFC
Mm,
Miami. And that was we sat right next to Izzy's family and just hearing like seeing their reaction made it so much better too. But
yeah.
it's those big moments, man. That's why people watch.
Right.
It's those big moments, those big knockouts.
Right.
That's why people watch the sport.
Yeah, and I look at someone like Poetan and his like personal brand, but even those moments where someone's filming and they're dancing, the Chama stuff. Obviously, he's done the crazy knockouts and achieved titles and stuff, but then also funny interviews with like Nina Drama and some of those different moments that. I mean, it doesn't hurt, but like that make people
Yeah.
connected with him. Other than this dude's a beast. When he came in, it was scary. Like does the bow thing, and it's like, bro, this dude is he's a warrior, right? But then he's
Yeah.
also personable now.
Yeah, I mean, I've met a lot of fighters, and I've never met one that's been like how they are perceived. If that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
they're all nice people at the end of the day. They're just bred a little bit differently, and they can flip a switch that I do not have.
yeah.
So I think that, like I said, I think that like I got to talk with Dustin last time I was in Florida, and like one of the nicest people I've ever met, and he just, but in reality, like every other person from the outside looking in, he's like, oh, that's a scary human being,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that growing like posting other stuff on social media besides just hype montages of you in the gym is super beneficial because
For sure.
you become a human being,
Yeah.
not just like this piece of meat that's going into the octagon and trying to kill the other person.
Right.
It's there's a big difference there. And I think that, like you're saying, I think more and more people will start catching on to that. It's just it's going to take time. Probably in the next 5 years, there'll be a lot more UFC, jujitsu, boxing influencers rather than fighters,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Can you remind everybody about combat creators and how they can get a hold of you and who's it for?
Yeah, so Combat Creators is for any combat sports athletes, coaches, or gym owners that want to grow their personal brand through content. It's at school.com/combat dash creators, or you can follow me on Instagram at combat creators and get in touch with me there. But yeah, basically anyone in the combat sports niche that is interested in growing their personal brand, please, please, please hit me up. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I truly do want to help anyone that wants to be helped in growing their personal brand, and really getting their name out there.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
That's pretty much it, man. I really appreciate you having me on the show and everything. And yeah,
Yeah, I had a good time. It was a good talk. A bunch of cool stuff came up.
yeah. No, this is great, man. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it, Gardy.
This is Gardy with Clear Life Media, Clear Life Combat. Y'all be blessed.